Hello. Welcome to our session on custom software, enhancing your competitive advantage. I am Carrie Rudolph, Director of the Application Solutions Group at Keller Schroeder. I've been an employee owner for 16 years and have focused on custom web application development for the entire 25 years of my career. I have participated in all aspects of custom web application development, including analysis, project management, development, testing, deployments, everything from beginning to end focused on custom application development. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the Application Solutions Group at Keller Schroeder. This was the original purpose of Keller Schroeder when it was founded in 1978, and we've expanded our services over the years, but we have over 45 years of experience partnering with companies on custom software initiatives. We have over 30 staff members in our group with an average tenure of 17 years. All this to say, we have a history rich in custom application development and a deep well of knowledge and experience in this area. So today we're going to define custom software, talk about the advantages, and then go through several high-level case studies and discuss next steps. So let's start at the very beginning with the most basic question. What is custom software? This is software specifically designed and developed to meet the unique needs and requirements of a particular organization or user. This can be as simple as integration or data sync between two systems, an approval workflow, or as complex as a learning management system, an order fulfillment application, or a complete standalone software product. Software trends come and go, and sometimes very quickly. You may wonder if custom software is still a thing for companies, or is everyone moving to off the shelf? Is there a sentiment or a trend that custom applications are a thing of the past? And so I did what every smart, capable person does today, and I asked Copilot. Its answer was consistent when asked multiple ways. Custom software development is far from being considered old-fashioned. In fact, it's evolving rapidly with an integration of cutting-edge technologies. So I took that a step further and asked for studies or research on the usage and future of custom application. I found that in 2023, 83% of companies use custom software in comparison to 2018, which was around 62%. The global custom software development market is also expected to grow from $36.6 billion in 2023 to over $99 billion in 2028, which is a rate of 22%. The market is then expected to grow an additional 20% from 2028 and reach almost $250 billion in 2033. So these data points indicate again that this is a market and an approach that continues to be relevant in today's software market. So why do companies choose custom? I believe it all boils down to one concept, and that being competitive advantage. Many companies, all companies, want to acquire a competitive advantage, whether that be through cost savings or efficiencies that allow them to produce their good or service in a more cost-effective manner, whether that be differentiating their product or service from their competitors in order to be top of class, whether that be focusing on a very narrow scope and a very narrow need and being a differentiator from that perspective. Competitive advantage is what keeps companies thriving, and custom software helps companies protect and enhance their competitive advantage. So let's dig in a little deeper here. Why do companies choose custom? So first and foremost, unique requirements. If we go back to the definition of custom software, it said it's software created to meet unique needs. So I would say if you're looking for software to perform a function in your company in the same manner that it does in every other company, then that's probably better served from an off-the-shelf solution. I recently had a request to build a custom accounting package. I pushed back because there were no unique requirements in how this organization was doing accounting compared to most other organizations. There were plenty of other aspects of the business where I felt custom applications would be a good approach to consider. So if you have unique requirements or unique needs based on the industry that you're working in, based on whatever the case may be, custom software is something to consider. Next, many companies are wanting to protect their business processes. If your processes are helping you achieve efficiencies or higher quality, then you must protect those business processes because that's helping you keep and gain your competitive advantage. When you go off the shelf, many times you have to change your business processes to meet the requirements of the software. You have to create workarounds. So when you have to change those business processes, it creates inefficiencies. It can require workarounds, and that can create frustration and impact the overall morale of your workforce as well. When you go custom, the custom software should be built to support either your current business processes or help you achieve your desired business processes in order to find those efficiencies and do things in the most productive manner for your workforce. Another reasons company looks to custom is to minimize change. So you may not believe me, but I've had clients come to me happy with the software that they're currently using. And so in this case, if the software is working well, many times the need is just to create a version 2.0 that will allow them to make further enhancements, that will allow them to continue to make sure their software is secure and that it is in a modern technology stack, right? So in these cases, we can minimize change by mimicking some of the features, maybe the look and feel, the user interface of the existing application when we build a new custom application so that users kind of can get a warm, familiar feeling from the new application, and it doesn't just cause as much disruption during the rollout and increases adoption as well. All of these things also contributing to competitive advantage. Another benefit of custom is that if you are doing custom software, you own the software. You own what functionality and what features are being built into that software. If you go off the shelf, you may be a small voice in a very large user group. So you can absolutely submit to the vendor of a third-party off-the-shelf software your requests for enhancements, your finding of issues or bugs, but that vendor has the control to decide which features and enhancements it will pursue, how those features and enhancements will be designed and implemented, and the timeline in which those will be deployed to the product. You have very little control over those things. If you go custom, you decide all of those things. You're in control, and you can optimize your investment. You can maximize your investment by focusing on things in the priority in which you decide, and timing those things and what works best for your budget and your timeline, and you being in control of the features and functionality and how it is implemented within your system. All of these things protecting your costs, protecting your efficiencies, protecting your competitive advantage. Differentiating yourself from others is another reason companies will look to custom software. If you participate in an industry that only has one or two options for off-the-shelf software to support your needs, then you may want to go with custom so that your digital presence doesn't feel so similar to your competitors. Making yourself feel different can make you stand out to the consumers and give you a competitive advantage. So being custom here can help you have a unique look and feel, have a unique presence in the digital market, which many companies are participating in. Cost control from a long-term investment perspective is also an important consideration. Whether you go custom or off the shelf, it's an investment, right? There's no getting around that software is an investment. So when you go off the shelf, you may have a smaller upfront investment. It may be a shorter duration to implementation as well. But it's very difficult for vendors to accurately estimate what the implementation cost will be, what the customization cost will be, and to predict the future cost for support and maintenance. When you go custom, you likely will have a greater upfront cost. You may also have a longer duration to deployment due to the development cycle. However, if you're developing your custom application to support your business processes, to find efficiencies, to find cost savings, whether that be from a time perspective or otherwise. You are spending monies in order to save money. And in the long term, in the life of that application, it is typically a better long-term investment to go with custom solutions. And lastly, many companies go to custom in order to ensure that the software will meet their future needs. As you're designing and developing custom applications, you should be considering, what are your goals? What are your growth aspirations? What are your goals for the next 5 years? What are your vision for your company? You want to make sure that you're putting in place a foundation to support that. You want to be sure that the application and the infrastructure in which it's running is scalable and can support those future needs. You may have enhancements to make in the future to roll out your vision, but you want to make sure the foundation is solid. And so that will also optimize your investment and allow you to reach for your goals and protect that competitive advantage. So all of these reasons come back to that competitive advantage, either through cost savings, through unique requirements or differentiating yourself, through protection of your business processes, which allow you to be efficient and control your costs, as well as your future vision for your company and aspirations. So I get asked a lot as well, custom applications, those are only something large global companies likely do. And that is not true. I've seen startups, I've seen family-owned businesses with less than 100 employees, all the way up to those global enterprises, find success and competitive advantage with custom software. I also have seen this success across industries. There's not one specific industry that I think is more well-suited or better suited to find the advantages of custom software. So as I said earlier, I spent the majority of my 25-year career building custom web applications from the ground up. So I'm going to share at this point some high-level overviews and case studies of the 5 most recent projects that I have worked on. So let's start in the construction industry. And this client was participating in the entire vertical of construction. So they are manufacturing their own materials. They have a retail portion of their business, a wholesale portion of their business, as well as construction crews out physically building structures. So they brought to us a 20-year-old homegrown ERP system, and they were very happy with this system. They had an internal developer who had built it over those 20 years, and that had allowed them to really refine their business processes. But they realized it was end of life. And also the technology stack that it was in was prohibiting them from making some enhancements that they were desiring. So we rewrote that as a web application. This included functionality for order entry, customer relationship management, deliveries, inventory management, accounts payable, accounts receivable, custom orders and fulfillment, invoicing, project tracking, time clock, payroll, and reporting. So this integrated with third-party software for call tracking and for 3D modeling of the buildings and structures that they were quoting, and their accounting software. So the accounts payable and accounts receivable portion there sounds like accounting functions, and it was, but it is the gathering of the information in the order system about their orders, about their jobs, and about the projects that they're working on, and sending that to their accounting system for accounts payable and accounts receivable. So they were gathering and processing some of the information in the custom software and then pushing it to the accounting software for processing. This company believed their competitive advantage was around 2 things. Their competitive advantage was their business processes that they had designed, as well as they recognized that the software they had previously been using was meeting their needs, and their user base was very comfortable with it. They realized they had a user base that was not super technically savvy and not super adaptive to change. So we were able to create custom software to protect those business processes. We were able to develop it to follow those business processes, as well as minimize change. So we laid out the pages and the field forms and the fields on those forms in a similar order and a similar placement as their previous software. We kept the workflow the same from screen to screen, and what you did on each screen very similar to the original software, which gave all those users a warm fuzzy when they got into the application, increasing adoption, minimizing the disruption, and at the same time protecting their competitive advantage. Next, let's look at the healthcare industry. And here we had a home-based healthcare services company. So they are sending providers into patients' homes to do visits. And with each visit, notes are required. So we created a custom web application for the patient records management function. The application had offline capabilities in case the internet was not available for those home visits. It included voice-to-text dictation functionality to aid in the entering of those visit notes. And it enforced an approval workflow as well as regular visits and reviews for compliance. So this company was receiving referrals from a third party, and part of the service level agreement with the third party was they needed to visit each patient at least every 2 weeks. So the application was written to not only provide a workflow where each patient visit notes were reviewed by a supervisor for quality of service, but also that if a visit note wasn't found for the last 2 weeks, that would be escalated to the provider as well as the supervisor to be sure that all of the providers were working consistently and meeting the service level agreements with that third party that was providing those referrals. This application also included time entry for billing purposes, and it integrated with that third party providing those referrals for the billing and reporting requirements in order to stay in compliance and continue to receive those referrals. So the competitive advantage here is this application created consistency for providers. It created monitoring for supervisors, so they had less to monitor, and it bubbled up and escalated issues quicker, which created efficiencies. So the competitive advantage was consistency and efficiencies, allowing them to have higher quality and more efficient processes. So next, let's look at another manufacturing client, but this time in the custom metal fabrication services. So here the client brought us a 30-year-old estimating system, and Keller Schroeder had written the original 30-year-old version of the estimating application, and they asked us to also write version 2.0. So this included estimate generation functionality with itemized pricing, job tracking, time entry, and reporting. It integrated with third-party software for customer and employee master information, as well as accounts receivable and accounts payable. So here, the accounting system was only accessible to a few employees. So they only a few had licenses to the accounting software. Many more users had access to the custom application because there is not a license cost associated with that. So no limitations on who could get to the estimating system. So the application pulls information out of the accounting system and marries that to the jobs so that they can see those accounts receivable and accounts payable items married with the jobs and compare actuals to estimates for their jobs and see how well they're doing. The fun thing we did here was we migrated 30 years of data in order to allow for historical tracking. So this client looked at off the shelf, and they found that in the solutions that they found, they were only going to be using a small portion of the total package. So they didn't feel like that was maximizing their investment when they were paying for it all, but only using a small portion. So they felt it was a better use of their investment dollars to go custom and to protect their estimating process, which they felt gave them a competitive advantage. So cost control, protecting business processes on this one. Next, let's look at manufacturing again, but another twist here. This is a food processing plant. So here we created a custom form application to move them from a paper process that was not easily monitored to a fully automated trackable system. This tracks if forms are completed according to time requirements each hour and provides reports of failed quality checks and missing data. This integrated with Bluetooth thermometers and smart plugs to give visual indicators of issues on the production floor, and it allowed supervisors to focus on what's important and not just the paperwork. So supervisors here, for compliance reasons, were trying to track that all the paperwork was filled out each day, each form was filled out each day, was it filled out in the time requirements that it was supposed to be filled out, and did the information on the form fall within the tolerance ranges? A lot of manual effort there. So The custom web application we created not only monitors if forms are filled out, it also can validate that the information is within tolerance and will escalate any invalid information, as well as it can track what time and who filled out each individual form, giving much more accurate audit information. So this is creating a lot of efficiency at the supervisor level, as well as at the individual employee level. So creating more efficiencies, time and cost savings to protect their competitive advantage. And lastly, we've got the hospitality industry. So this was a hotel management company, and they were in a mergers and acquisition phase. And so we created a custom application for accounts payable invoice processing and labor reporting that is used across 21 hotels. So this allows a user at a hotel to scan an invoice and for services or supplies provided to that hotel, and they can categorize it. They can put in the due date, they can select the vendor, they can tell individual items on that invoice which GL accounts those should be posted to, and they submit it. And then a general manager goes and reviews that information, approves it, and submits that invoice for payment. This integrates with a third-party vendor that does their payment processing. So our custom application will do all the data retrieval and then sends all that to the payment processing application. We also created the labor reporting application within here that integrates with a third party to import all the employee time from each hotel and then provides reports on past performance as well as future projections. And this helps those general managers make decisions on staffing levels relative to the number of rooms sold. So based on this number of rooms sold for tomorrow, how many people do I need here so that I'm not overstaffed or understaffed in order to meet the high quality standards that they had set. So these applications were providing consistent processes, and we're doing validation that we had all the information about the invoice up front, creating efficiencies and automation to help them protect their competitive advantage. So what are the keys to success when you do a custom software project? Well, first and foremost, I believe that it is essential to work with a development team or a partner that is experienced with building applications from scratch in a flexible, secure, and scalable manner. So you definitely want to have a very experienced development team or partner when you take on these endeavors, because there is a lot of rabbit holes and a lot of mishaps that can happen along the way with such big undertakings as custom software development. I also believe a key is thorough analysis and design, including users at all levels of the organization. So it is wonderful when I get to talk to a management level or IT individuals about what they see and envision for an application. But it is also just as important for me to be talking to our frontline workers, the individuals who will be using the system, the individuals that are performing these duties on a day-to-day basis. That also goes for back office users who might be utilizing the system for processing, a back office processing of information, as well as management. So all of these throughout all levels of the organization are important in the analysis and design portion. It will really reduce rework if we can gather that information. So we really also like to come and not only talk to these individuals, but maybe observe your production floor, maybe observe these users and these individuals in action, because that can also help ensure that we fully understand the requirements and can optimize it to best fit your needs and business processes. I also highly recommend an iterative and agile design practices to support flexibility throughout the development phase. So nothing would be worse than doing all this thorough analysis and design and getting all the requirements determined. And then the development team goes away for 6 to 12 months and comes back at the end and says, here's what we've got. Typically, what we've got 6 to 12 months later is not going to be right on point with meeting expectations. So we really try to, as we have each individual section or small pieces of an application ready to go, We want to get that in front of the users, get that in front of our clients so they can give us feedback. How does it feel? How does it work? How is it functioning for you? And so if we need to make small pivots, make changes to that, we can make that in this small piece that we've got, not in every piece of the application that's already been built. So we really minimize rework, really zero in on expectations if we take an iterative process of getting pieces of the application in front of the users, in the user's hands, in the client's hands, to get that feedback all the way through so we can make adjustments. And lastly, a robust user testing phase, providing clear, transparent feedback performed hopefully by the future users of the system. If we can get direct feedback from the people who are going to be using the system, then we can make the changes and enhancements that are necessary that come out of user testing in a controlled, scheduled fashion. If we go live and then these issues and changes bubble up, it's a little bit different when the application is in production. And sometimes that creates a little bit more chaos and urgency, and creates a little bit more churn, and it affects the adoption of the application, to be honest. So if you can do that user testing up front with the actual future users of the system, it will be a more successful deployment. So Keller Schroeder, with its 45 years of experience, can deliver in all of these areas of keys to success. These are things that we have learned and learned from mistakes, to be honest, right? So learn from some missteps in working with such a wide variety of clients over such a wide variety of industries, so we can offer you a solid approach to custom software development. So I gave that overview of the 5 most recent projects I worked on. I've talked about those keys to success. Now let's look at what clients are saying about Keller Schroeder. So this is that food processing client that we talked about earlier, and this was a quote that they gave us as a result of the project. So we turned to Keller Schroeder as a viable solution for digitizing our essential paper production check sheets. The existing electronic documentation on the market failed to meet the rigorous standards required by both our company and the regulatory bodies overseeing our plant. Right there is a unique need, right, that the off-the-shelf solutions could not meet. So a unique need, which would require custom application. Our objective was to create electronic records that ensured ease of use, efficient data retrieval, and robust accounting through thorough checks and balances. Right there is their competitive advantage that they were trying to protect, right, or create. So ease of use, efficiencies, and accountability. Keller Schroeder delivered cost-effective, tailor-made documents that met all our requirements, surpassing our expectations. Their support staff was highly engaged throughout the entire process, providing valuable feedback, recommendations, and quick turnaround times. We would definitely consider Keller Schroeder for future custom development needs our company may have. So the next time you are upgrading or purchasing new software, I encourage you to consider your competitive advantage. Whether you go off the shelf or custom, be sure that that software is going to support, enhance, and protect your competitive advantage. Be sure that you identify what your competitive advantage is today and what you think your competitive advantage will be in the future, and ensure that the software is going to support that journey in order to ensure the viability of your organization. Scan this QR code if you would like to schedule a 15-minute, no obligation call with our custom application experts, and we can determine if you qualify for a complimentary 2-hour strategy session. We would love to talk to you about your software needs and how Keller Schroeder might be able to partner with you to ensure that what you implement will help protect and enhance your competitive advantage. Thank you very much.